Hello and welcome to the discussion of assessment. Educators must use assessment as a tool to improve instruction. Improving student learning will always be the primary goal of assessment. It must be used formatively to pinpoint when students become lost. When students are lost, teacher can intervene through assessments. Teacher can decide to reteach, move on, or change teaching strategies. Now, on a larger scale, assessments are used for evaluation as well, which is different. Assessments still evaluate whether or not students are learning to read, write, and do math. When it comes to standardized testing, they serve the purpose of identifying gaps within an entire school or a classroom, so assessments can identify deficits in both the classroom and school as well. One of the easiest ways to capture children is through the use of video. Now, we can either do this ourselves or ask teacher to take on the role. Alternatively, we can set a camera with our tripod. Now, it places this in the corner of the room with a wide range lens. We can catch most of the action without much effort at all. Naturally, some children will want to show off and be the center of attention, but the novelty tends to wear off pretty quickly. We can also use those children who aren't participating, giving them the camera and giving them the job of a journalist or some reporter trying to capture the class highlights. This gives them a clear and important task even when they can't engage in the session. The reason that we really need to assess is very simple. Sometimes, students do not learn what we teach, so assessment are the best way to find out whether students have learned something. The difficulty is we then use those results to serve a number of different functions, although the process of assessment is very simple. We give students stuff to do, we look at what they did, and we draw a conclusion. But the difficulty is we draw a lot of different conclusions, and sometimes those purposes conflict, and that's why assessment is such a contentious area. But always remember, it is always important in both life and education that we learn from our mistakes, and teachers just want to show students that hard work pays off. Assessment provides intrinsic motivation and a payoff for studying very hard.
This is the continuation report of Chapter 5 entitled Assessment. So before anything else, let me introduce myself. My name is Jessa Santia, and the topic assigned to me is all about the assessment, the internal assessment, and the guiding principle. So let's start. Okay. So what is internal assessment? Internal assessment is the process in which the teachers and the students judge the students' performance in the basis of performance. Kasi yung internal assessment is only the teacher and the students and also the school. So yun yung internal assessment, okay? Okay, 8 guiding principles in internal assessment. First is the alignment with the learning objectives. So alignment with the learning objectives, it is a consistency across the precise connections. Consistency with the precise connections between the students and the teachers, okay? In order to have a full understanding, a good communication, and aware of what is expected, okay? That is the alignment. Second one is catering for the range of students' ability. So to be effective in teaching, we recognize first the range of students' ability, and also we need to value each student's effort to improve their learning interests, encourage students to participate and explore in the way they prefer. The third one is tracking progress over time. So tracking progress over time, you stay focused on what's important to reaching your goal. It helps the students to identify potential obstacles for how to overcome them. And also stay positive thinking, diba? And set a realistic goal. Okay? Next, the fourth one is timely and encouraging feedback. So in timely and encouraging feedback, the teacher use constructive verbal comments during classroom activities and written remarks on their assignments with the students. Okay, the fifth one is making reference to the school context. So in making reference to the school context, this is guiding principle was the school or encouraged to design some assessment tasks, such as assessment tasks and activities. The next one is making reference to current progress in student learning. So same mo lang sa making reference to school context. Kasi dito sa making reference to progress in student learning is dito na de-develop ng students yung mga natutunan nila through. Next one is feedback from peers and self-assessment. So feedback from peers and self-assessment. So in addition to giving feedback, teacher should also provide opportunities for per assessment and self-assessment. So one of guiding principle is the appropriate use of assessment information to provide a feedback. So in this, teacher provide each source of data to the students on a formative manner, and also this is considers students as active participation and learning processes and boost the improvement in students' work. Diba? So that's all my report, and see you, bye!
Good day everyone! So for today's vlog, for today's informative vlog, I'm going to continue the chapter 5 lesson 4.2, which is the internal assessment practices. Let's go! So we all know that there are a range of assessment practices such as homework, questioning and feedback, short quizzes, observational checklists, and projects that we should use to promote the attainment of the various learning outcomes. So now, come join me as we explore different assessment practices. First is we have the homework. So in primary level, we all know this as an assignment. So homework is a form of formative assessment along with draft work, ungraded quizzes, and other exercises used with the intent of guiding and instructing the students to promote higher level cognitive connections. Second is the oral questioning and feedback. So oral questioning is a method of assessment, is a direct means of assessing students' learning outcomes by questioning them orally. It enables the teachers to discuss matters in depth with able students, to tease out the meaning of obscure statements, and to find out reasons for conclusions. So teachers are encouraged to try using oral assessment as a valuable supplement to conventional assessment methods. So that is how oral questioning and feedback works. Third is we have short quizzes assessment. So short quizzes are very common in some students' assessment because right after the teacher discuss a topic or a lesson, he or she will then conduct a short quiz. Well, the teachers can schedule a short quizzes frequently to monitor their students' learning and progression. And fourth is we have the written assessment. So written assessments serve to assess the competencies and knowledge students have and acquired in the course of studying of any subjects. But then we are very particular in PE electives. So apart from remembering and understanding knowledge, students are also required to demonstrate the extent to which they can use their knowledge to apply, analyze, evaluate, and create in familiar and novel situations. That is how written assessment works. And another internal assessment practices is observation checklist. So observation checklist provide a means for teachers to assess the achievement of students in physical activities. Such list also gives students a clear indications of their progress and can be used as a basis in which to assess them to improve their learning. As a PE student, I also experience observation checklist in our class. So we mainly use this pre-test and post-test assessment to assess our skills and tactics in every sport that we were going to perform. And another internal assessment practices is the projects. So as a student in over 10 years, we have experience to make a project. So a project is any piece of extended work from which the constraints of lessons time have been largely removed. So in my case, as a PE student, I've done so many videos of basic skills in some specific sports just like volleyball, basketball, badminton, and other sports. So that is our project to pass. And last but not the least for our internal assessment practices is we have the student portfolio. So as a students, I have done a tons of students portfolio in some various subjects. So portfolios are records of students' learning containing their work over a period of time. So here an example of my portfolio in previous years in high school. So this is my portfolio. In the first page, you have here the table of contents. I have here the first page, the biography, second, the who I am statement and self-concept inventory. And then for the second page, you will see my biography, which include my name, my sections, my sex and birth date, birthplace, address. That includes all my biography. And then my activities and other pages. So this is an example of a portfolio where I gathered all my works from my previous years in high school.
Good day everyone, are you ready for our discussion? If yes, then before anything else, I will be introducing to you first myself. I am Jesson Sanoy and I am your reporter for today. So today I will be discussing to you the public assessment. So when we talk about assessment, it is an instrument that is used to assess or to measure the performance of the student or teachers. Public assessment will use when you are going to have a public examination or any internal assessment, and it includes a different objectives and the procedures of the teachers. In education, the public assessment is a wide variety of methods or tools that educators use to evaluate, measures, and document the educational needs of the students. So we have different guiding principles for the public assessment that is outlined below for the teacher's reference. So first, it should be aligned with the curriculum. If you're going to base the assessment on the Hong Kong Diploma of Secondary Education, it should be aligned with the objectives of the secondary education curriculum in order for them to enhance the validity of their public assessment. So the assessment procedure should address the range of a valid learning outcomes and not just those on reliable, on the external assessment, but of course to the public performance of the student. In addition, this public assessment is also aligned with the field of a physical educator. Why? Because they are not going to have a written examinations, but of course they tend to have also a practical examinations in order for them to assess their abilities. For example, if you are going to assess the student on how they are going to play volleyball, so they must perform the basic skills of it. Right? The second guiding principles of a public assessment should be fair, reliable, and objectives. In order for us to avoid being biased to our student if we are going to assess their performance, we should follow the guiding principles that are being given by the HKDSE or the Hong Kong Diploma of Secondary Education. Every student have an equal opportunity to demonstrate what she can learn or what he or she understand, know, and what she or he can do. One of the best examples of this guiding principles of public assessment is when the student get an examination, because the fairness of the exam can make the difference between the students getting the grade they deserve and the grade that does not reflect their knowledge and their skill. In practice, fairness is often defined synonymously as an equity. In educational testing, equity is the opportunity to learn and an opportunity to demonstrate. How are we going to ensure if our assessment is not biased and fair? First, don't rush. Second, plan your assessment carefully. Aim for an assignment and questions that are clear. Guard against unintended bias and try out large-scale assessment tools. The next guiding principles of the public assessment should be in inclusiveness. So the assessment and examination in the Hong Kong Diploma of Secondary Education need to accommodate the full spectrum of the student aptitude and ability. So in giving this guiding principle, the public assessment will be assigned or designed to include the different cognitive levels in the knowledge domain. So it includes the remembering, understanding and application, analysis, and evaluation and creation of the student performance and cognitive skills. Next to that is the standard referencing. This guiding principle is very helpful to the teachers because this standard reference assessment refers to the process of collecting and interpreting information about the student's learning and performance. The last guiding principles of this public assessment is in informativeness. First, so it provides a feedback to the student on their performance and of course to the teachers and schools and the quality of the teaching provided. Second, One, it communicates to the parents, tertiary institutions, employees, and the public at large what is that students know and are able to do in terms of how they are going to perform, matches the standards. Third, it facilitates the selection decisions that are fair and defensible. So that's all for my report about the public assessment and the guiding principles of it.
Assessment design. In assessment design, it must test the student attainment of the intended learning outcomes effectively and at the appropriate level where learning outcomes state skills and attitudes as well as knowledge. This should be appropriately reflected in the chosen assessment methods. The table shows the assessment design of the subject with effect from 2016 Hong Kong Diploma of Secondary Education examination. So this table shows the component examination which has three parts. First, the multiple choice and short questions weighing 42% and last for 2 hours and 15 minutes. And the paper 2 which is the long questions weighing 18% and last for 1 hour and 15 minutes. And the paper 3 is the practical examination weighing 40%. Public examinations are high-stakes standardized tests focusing on achievement of cognitive skills administered at the end of the certain levels, which is the primary and secondary, by external agencies, often for purpose of selecting students for transition to higher levels. So the different kinds of items are used to assess students' performance in a broad range of skills and abilities. The type of items include multiple choice questions, short questions, and long questions. The school may refer to the live examination papers regarding the format of the examination and the standards at which the questions are pitched. This is Marfle Grace Corpus Recidoro from BPED 3A. Thank you for listening.
So hello everyone, before I will continue the side topic to me, I will introduce myself first. So my name is Salvador Rebarter Jr., a Bachelor of Physical Education 3rd year. So my assigned topic is about the standard and reporting of results. So standards reference reporting is adopted for the HKDST. What this means is that candidates' level of performance are reported with a reference to a set of standard as defined by a cut scores on a mark scale for a given subject. The set of standards for a given subject can be represented diagrammatically as shown. This is the cut scores or the mark scale, defining levels of performance via cut scores on the mark scale for a given subject. So within the context of the HKST, there are 5 scores which are used to distinguish 5 levels of performance. So the 5 levels of performance is the 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest. A performance below a cut score for level 1 is labeled as unclassified. Did you get? The principle behind these descriptors is that they describe what typical candidates can do, not they cannot do. In other words, they describe performance in positive rather than negative terms. So, what is mark scale? So mark scale is where an assessment or module marks are adjusted up or down for an entire cohort or group of similarly affected students to ensure that the academic standard achieved by students are equivalent to previous years. For example, on undergraduate course, the standard pass mark is 40 and the excellence is 70. So the scaling process would decide a new pass value. Example, 35. And the new excellence value is 65. So these new cut points would be applied to the assessment and when you calculate your course result. So instead the percentage is 40 over 70, it was became a total of 50 over 70 because of the mark scale. This method will adjust makes within a range by a specified positive or negative in order for the marks to be scaled up or down. Remember that scaling is not used to change mark to achieve an ideal distribution of result. Scaling is not used to adjust the final mark at the program level when considering overall degree classification. And that's all. Thank you.